is, what about a veto override session? I think a lot of people were totally horrified to hear that the governor had made it at least more difficult. I mean, there are various views of the scenario, how this is all going to work, but it seems as if he certainly made it harder for people to get funding for help for disabled people for home care. So I want to know about the possibilities of the veto override session. If you guys actually achieve that, that would be a milestone, would it not?
Well, look, I'm on the Causeway right now on my way back from the North Shore. I spoke at the North Shore Business Council breakfast this morning to update them on the legislative session. And as I was leaving, a woman from Metairie approached me and said, I just want you to know I drove from Metairie to come see you at this breakfast to talk to you about going to an override session because my child has been on the now waiver waiting list for 7 years. And what I told her is I unequivocally support going to a veto session. I'm offended by the fact that the legislature came together in a bipartisan nature this year to pass a budget. It was a historic occasion where members of the Black Caucus, the Democratic Caucus, and the Republican delegation came together to support appropriations, particularly directed at developmentally disabled families, people who have members of their family that have health issues and developmental disabilities. We need to go in and override those vetoes. The legislature overwhelmingly supported those things, and I think that we need to go in to do that. Now, will that happen? History says it's very difficult for the legislature to call itself in to do that. I hope that we will. I hope it'll be different this year. I think we should unequivocally go in and at least attempt to override some of these vetoes.
JP, how about you? What you think?
I agree with everything that Walt just said. I think that this is definitely an area in which, if this occurs, it'll be because of citizen activism, not because of the legislature itself. And I say that because, like I said previously when I did a couple of interviews, when you look at areas like the greater New Orleans area, the majority of the delegation is very likely that they're going to withhold their ballots and push for a veto session. The problem you have is that 75% of the state is considered rural. In those rural areas, those legislators oftentimes, because let's be honest, some of the now waiver stuff doesn't even go out to those areas. They are the pain of those cuts is not immediately felt necessarily by their populations, and the populations it affects are so disenfranchised they don't necessarily even know how to go to their legislature and plead with them to go to a legislative override session. So part of, I think, what will make this successful or not successful is that citizen outrage has to reach a point where they can't ignore it.
So that is the heart of my issue of how we achieve that citizen outrage. I've got Vera Warren-Williams with me in the studio, who is a neighborhood leader active in the Bayou St. John, Tremé, and Bayou Road areas. Also, I have Sekou on the line.